Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we got to get started fixing a MacBook. So I'm going to get started fixing a MacBook, and it's going to be great, because it's going to be a MacBook that we fix. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that I don't run out of space. I always screw that up. Run out of space while recording, because I forget to empty my trash from the prior stream. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. No more of that shit. No, I'm not going to be a moron. At least not a total moron this time. So let's see, we got some space here. We have some space. Yeah, 1.1 terabytes available. 1.1 terabytes. That's more than enough to rock out with our soldering iron out. And let's go from here. So what do we have today? Well, today we have an A1398 that looks like it's had its second spill inside of just a few months. I feel so bad for these MacBooks, I swear. I don't know what they do to deserve these owners. I feel so bad for these little MacBooks. They didn't ask to be born MacBooks. They didn't ask to be, made in the image of Tim Cook. They were just born that way. And now they get treated so poorly as a result of it. So poorly. What do we have here? So this is a MacBook that we actually fixed a couple of months ago, and they came back saying that they have the same problem. Well, I wonder, why are they having the same problem? Well, if we take a look, it looks like they did the same shit. Spill, 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 spill. This is still wet. Ay, 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 ay. All right, let's see if we can figure out what's going on here and make this MacBook work again. It's weird because it's a drink, but it smells like a cigarette. That's something I've yet to experience. A drink that smells like a cigarette. I didn't know they made that. It's kind of strange. All right, so first thing to do here is find a T5 screwdriver. Good. Here we go. We got a T5 right here. We're going to take this thing apart. We're going to make it work again. I'll rearrange some stuff in my screen here. Make it easier to read the chat. If the chat is good today, I might actually read it. Because why is there Coke and semen on the laptop? Well, that's a question you'll have to ask its owner. That's not a question that I'll be able to answer, I'm afraid. You can tell that they paid out the ass for this one too, because they have the NVMe SSD that has this little heatsink covering thing over it. So they genuinely paid out the ass for this configuration, whatever it was. Which is why I find it strange that they keep spilling things on it. What do you all think we're going to find in this MacBook? So how are you all doing today? How is everybody doing? Someone said, "Damn it, Hunter." Oh, man. I suppose it's okay to discuss that stuff now that that pesky election is over with. Now we can focus on the fact that the candidate's family is corrupt. It's not like the other candidate's family isn't corrupt either. I kind of wonder how corrupt I would be if I was a politician. I think I would be corrupt. Because I'm a human. I think that it's really, it's difficult to separate that, or to believe that you haven't earned it, or you don't have the right to it. Like at some point, I think you're gonna be a little bit corrupt because you're a human. I kind of wonder what I would do in that situation. I like to think I wouldn't be corrupt. I like to, fancy myself as someone who is honorable, good sir, but I'd probably be a piece of shit like the rest of them. Because I'm a human. Am I a better human being, or is it just the difference is that I'm a human that's never, the only reason I'm better in some ways because I've never been put in a position where I had the option of being able to gain something as a result of being evil. I think a lot of people haven't necessarily ever been in a situation where there was something to gain for them being evil. So it's really easy for them to say, I'm a good guy. Look at me, I'm a good guy. I've never done anything bad. When you're in a situation where no one cares. It's kind of like that Bill Burr skit where he's talking about people who criticize Tiger Woods and Arnold Schwarzenegger for cheating on their wives. And if you're a 5'10", 230-pound person that goes to RVs every other day, and you say, well, I've never cheated on my wife. It's like, yeah, because no one wants to fuck you. I mean, it's different. It's not like you're virtuous. In order to be a virtuous person, there has to be but the opportunity to present itself for you to be evil. Because if there's never any opportunity, then I don't know. Maybe you're not really virtuous. You're just a person that nobody cares to even engage in corruption with. I always wonder what This is a sticky ass board. The other side of this is gonna look like shit. I can tell right now. Okay, it's not. Oh no. Oh man. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like Open Broadcaster fucking froze. So this is something that my computer regularly does since switching to Linux. It'll do this thing where the GUI randomly freezes. Sometimes it makes me sad how bad Linux is. It's 2020. So every now and then Linux will do this thing where the machine will become unresponsive. Sometimes it'll become unresponsive for a few minutes, and sometimes it'll become unresponsive for like 10 minutes, and sometimes you just have to reboot. And like if you're playing music, the music will continue playing, and it won't freeze that. Like the music will still play, but nothing on the screen will move. So the screen will remain static. And it happens constantly. It's so annoying. I haven't had that experience at, it's so annoying. It doesn't tell you what it is. Like, I don't get an error that says this froze. I suppose there's some var log file I could check, but I don't know which log I'd even look for. And I've Googled this extensively, and what I found is that every single person who's had this problem has a different solution for it. Like, literally every single person that I've read that's had this problem says, I solved it by doing X, and there's not a single commonality, a single common thread amongst why this happens. It's strange. But that's the magic of using Linux. That is the magic of using Linux. Alright, just gonna get something that I was working on before back up and running. Should upgrade to Windows 3.1. You know, Windows 3.1 may be better than Linux for this particular action. So we're going to restart my stream because the file that I was recording before is completely corrupted and useless as a result of me having to stop in the middle of the stream. Thank you, Linux, as always. I appreciate you, Linux, for your prized stability. Oh man, what a pile of shit. What a fucking operating system. Louis Paulo Rossi is dead of cancer. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know who that is, but anybody who dies of cancer, that is a tragedy, and yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't know who that is. All right, we're going to try this again. We're going to try this video again. I was in the middle of recording it, and I had this thing that Linux has been doing forever where like the music will continue playing, everything will work, but there'll be no video. The video on the screen will be there, but it'll be frozen. Sometimes it's fixable if you wait a few minutes. Sometimes it doesn't go away at all. Sometimes if I go Control Alt F3 or F4 to get rid of the desktop and go to the terminal, and then switch back, it'll work. But a lot of the times it just does that. And everything I've Googled regarding that issue, every single person who has solved it appears to have had a totally different solution and a totally different reason it was occurring. So since it's one of those things that could literally be anything, it's just an issue that's been driving me nuts for a while. But that's the story of Linux. It's there to drive you nuts. Anyway, so let's take a look at this board. This is a board that we actually fixed just a couple of months ago, and it's back. The customer said it's doing the same thing it was before. So our response is it looks like you did the same thing that you did before, which is spill shit on it, which makes me sad because they said, you know, I need this back immediately. I need it back in a day. I can't believe this happened. It's like, I can't control people do it when it gets back into their hands. So see this? That is another spill. And you can see that there is some clear-cut new corrosion over here. And there is also some corrosion over here, which makes me really, really sad, because this is right by the circuit that's going to power the CPU. So I'm going to see if I can get Flex Board View on the screen for this. I'm not sure if I'm going to be as lucky enough to be able to get Flex Board View on the screen for this, but we'll try. This is an 820-00163. I'm not sure if I actually have a schematic for this. I'm hoping that I do. I don't think I do. I think this may be the... actually, no, it's the 00138 I don't have a schematic for. So this, I may actually have a schematic and a board view for, and we're going to see if I can get that on the screen. All right, so it says the PDF doesn't exist. Let's see why that is. What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me, Paul Daniels? All right, let's see. So it's telling me the schematic that it wants to open, but it's not actually opening this. It doesn't let me choose the file. Are you kidding me? No, Paul Daniels' a software. It can't be that bad. Let's see. What the fuck? 1 sec. We have to get Paul Daniels' shit to work first. Let's see. 820-00163. Okay. We have a PDF in the folder, and it's a working PDF. So open the fucking PDF, you piece of shit. PDF file doesn't exist. Fuck you! It's right there, you prick. Oh, you piece of shit. All right, let's try this. Oh, it's looking for it in a C directory location. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? Oh, you gotta be shitting me. All right, check this out. Motherfucking piece of... All right, so check this out. So I have... Look at this. Error notice. PDF doesn't exist. PDF doesn't exist. C Lewis board. No! That's a fucking Windows directory. Paul! Let's see. Open PDF. Can I? Okay, let's go. Preferences. Like, there's no way to. Oh, never. Okay, so it was out of view. Okay, so check this out. No, this is some bullshit, Paul. What the fuck? All right, so if I have the window open this much, I can't see the select button. Like, the select button doesn't move down here. So if I don't have the window open enough, you can't even see the button where you choose the directory. Oh, those Australians. Can't trust those damn Australians, I swear to God. You do not trust those Australians. They are sneaky. They are sneaky people. They are going to get you every single way they can get you, let me tell you. And they'll get you good. All right. All right. Let's see if we can get to this damn board repair now. See if we can get something done. Okay. So why was I looking at that section of the board? Why was I looking at that section of the board and crying out in sadness? So what is this chip for? This chip over here, U7200. Touchpad connector is wrong. Oh, no, Pierre, no. You're trying to trick me. You're trying to sell me some 820-3662 and tell me it's an 820-00138. Don't you sell me shit and tell me it's chocolate. Everybody's picking on the American today. Sell me fake schematics, selling me, taking away my select button. And you're trying to trick me. You're trying to trick me. I'm not going to stand for it. All right. So this corrosion over here, or which I will put in the microscope so that you can better see. Why does this corrosion make me cry and think this customer is screwed? Well, the reason that this corrosion makes me sad is because, as you see over here, that is U7200. Now, what is U7200? Well, that's a great question. U7200 is going to control the buck converter that, over here, is going to take our PP bus G3 hot, PP Vin S5 high side computing iSense. It's actually PP bus G3 hot after it goes through a current sensing resistor of R5400. It's going to take our PP bus G3 hot over here, and which is 12.6 volts. It's going to have it go through in pulses, so it's going to pulse on, off, on, off, on, off, and turn it into about 1 to 1.7 volts for the CPU. Now, what do you think is going to happen if the chip that's controlling this process of taking 12 volts and turning it to 1 volt for the CPU gets liquid on it? It's going to send 12 volts to the CPU, which means this is not going to work. So I'm not going to plug this in. I'm not going to try to turn this on. I'm not even going to try to prompt to turn it on, because if I do so, I will send another pulse of 12 volts to the CPU, more than the 12 volts it already got, which will kill it. So usually what I do is I try to turn it on, see how many amps it's taking and all that, so that I can get an idea how to troubleshoot. We're not going to do that here, because if I do that on this board, I will kill it. Although, granted, most likely, it's already dead. This board is as dead as my relationship with Paul Daniels after that trolling software today. How dare he expect me to open the window to a suitable size? What's the point of having a 4K screen when I need flex board view to take up the entire freaking... I'm salty. I'm salty. I'm salty. If I see an Australian in the chat, I'm going to kick him. If I see a koala on my way home, I'm going to go, Toss him right off my fire escape. Okay, now I'm just being ridiculous. I'm just taking it out on Paul Daniels that I have yet another board that's going to have a dead CPU in my queue. It's not fair. It's not fair that we always take things out on Paul Daniels. We have to find another Australian to take things out on. Jim Hook, maybe. Gotta start spreading it around a little bit. Can't have it all in this one place. Okay, now I get you, Pierre, enough. Alright, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's see if these traces are broken at any point. By the way, everybody, we are greeted by board repair royalty in the chat today. Everybody say hello to Piernov. Piernov is one smart dude. He is a good guy. He helps a lot of people learn how to do this. And he's gotten a lot of people the help they need to get boards working again. People like Piernov help make this industry a better place. And I think he deserves a thank you. I haven't, NPR. That aviation guy, that would require that I teach you how to solder, which I don't know how to do over the internet. I can make a video where I solder something and then, you know, but I don't know how to teach you how to solder on a YouTube live chat, I'm afraid. If you're talking about the headphone wires where the wire is not really wire, but it's kind of hair, that even I don't really know. Because there's a lot of headphones where I've wanted to solder a new plug on after the, you know, the right where the wire meets the plug, it gets shitty. And I've wanted to solder on a new plug. And then when I cut it open, it's not really wires so much as it's hair. And I don't really even know how the hell they got that in there to begin with. But if you're talking about that I don't have an answer to. Like, even I just wind up using a gigantic amount and praying that it stays, and that's that. Do you think I should take a micro soldering job? Damon, unfortunately, there's not enough detail there to be able to answer your question. I don't know if you're qualified. I don't know what you currently do for work. I don't know what they're offering to pay you. I don't know what you make right now. I don't know if it's a good company you're looking to work at or a shitty company you're looking to work at. I don't know if it's a job where they're going to treat you like a human being or if it's a job like, well, working at Rossman Repair. Speaking of someone who would know what the inhumanity of working at Rossman Repair is like, everybody say hello to Cam in the chat. Hominicaster, I would suggest checking out youtube.com/Rossman Group. I may just be mildly biased. How are you doing, that dude? I am doing alright. I'm doing alright. I picked up my driver's learning permit and my 5-hour course completion. Now I just gotta find someone who's willing to let me test drive their car so that I can learn how to drive a normal car. I asked Paul and he looked at me and then ran out of the room. I asked Steve and then he did pretty much the exact same thing. Need to find someone that trusts me with their car. Alright, so we've got a bunch of shit here. Now again, all of this crap needs replacing. Like, that needs replacing, but that's not going to send 12 volts to the CPU. This area over here needs cleanup, but that's not going to send 12 volts to the CPU. This area over here can use cleanup. What I'm really looking at right now, what I want to get an idea of is how... this doesn't look nice either. But none of this here is going to send 12 volts to my CPU. I just want to see, like, how screwed is this? Does this have even the slightest chance of turning on again? So that's what I'd like to determine here. And we're going to try to determine that now. The coder gave £2, not euros. Why, thank you. All right, next thing I got to do is get Mr. Paul Daniels' power supply software on the screen. Okay, I can't get, for some reason I'm not getting any number here. Yeah. Let's see if I can fix this so I can get it to give me a number. Okay. I guess this is karma for cursing out the flex board view earlier in the video. Come on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're going to get this viewed on the desk. See if I can get... Oh my gosh! You're preparing to move to a city where you'll need a car. Nah, I don't want to live someplace where you need a car. Any place that I wind up moving to is going to be a place where I'm going to be getting around by Bafang. I may be getting around by a bigger Bafang or a stronger Bafang, but I'd like to be able to, let's say, fly into an area, rent a car or a motorcycle, and then be able to travel that area. So I'd like to be able to travel a bunch of different states in the U.S., and if I want to travel around it, just be able to rent a car. You know, you can't really rent a Bafang or a Cyclone or anything like that, because it's fucking illegal. But... anyway, let's see what this thing does now. So let's see if we at least got this thing to turn on. All right, we're taking 1.6 amps and we're getting a fan spin. So it is turning on. Now the next thing we have to do at this point, obviously, is clean up all the shit. Now, do be clear, I don't know if it's brain dead. It could be brain dead. I don't know that yet. Keith, I am using it because I didn't know I would dislike it this much until I switched. So now I'm kind of stuck. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to clean up the areas that look like shit. I made a mistake. I didn't think that it was still going to be this buggy in 2020, but it is. I made an incorrect assumption. We have to see if this board is still brain dead. Now, I think that we can kind of clean up this area with a little bit of flux and reflow. Well, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of just junky-ass looking corrosion over here. And a lot of this is going to come off in the ultrasonic, and it'll be fine. A lot of this is just, you know, it's cosmetically nasty, but it's not actually going to cause us any harm. Especially on the PP bus caps. I also don't have an identical board, so kind of... I don't think I have a 00163 donor here. I have a bunch of 00426s. Yeah, so we're going to clean this up a little bit. Just a little bit of cleaning. Realistically speaking, that stuff could stay on the board. I'm just kind of being OCD with it. Like this person already is pissed off that they had to come back once, even though it has nothing to do with me. So I want to make sure every time this customer comes back, it's because they spilled something, not because I half-assed fixing their board. This is such a regular occurrence at this point, and I don't like talking like this about people. I don't like getting to a point where my default is I don't believe you, but it's just, it happens so often that my default at this point, to some extent, is I just don't believe you. Like when someone says, it's doing the same thing, did you spill anything again? No, of course I didn't spill anything again. I think at this point in the business, I've gotten to the point where I don't believe most people. Also, I have no idea why you just keep repeating yourself, Clinton, when that has nothing to do with it. The one thing I learned about speed limits, at least from riding my Bafang around, is that if you ride the speed limit, everybody thinks you're a moron. So I remember seeing speed limit 25 miles an hour. So when I finally got my whole setup and I calibrated my speedometer, I thought, I'm going to ride the speed limit. And I ride 25 miles an hour. People get pissed. They honk. They drive past you cursing out the window. And it's not like they're driving 1 or 2 miles an hour more than you. I tried catching up to one of those people. One of the people that I caught up to was going at 37 miles an hour because I had to hit 40 to be able to pass them. And it's like... So one of the things that I'm really curious about is you have to do all this shit to get a driver's license. You have to take all these tests and answer all these questions to make sure that you know the rules. But at the end of the day, the people that actually have that don't obey the rules. Like me, what I'm figuring to myself is, all right, I have a vehicle that I pretty much put together myself. I'm fairly certain that it it disobeys almost every single law there is regarding a motorcycle or an electric bicycle. So because this vehicle that I'm in is disobeying every single law regarding what is a legal vehicle, that I should drive as safely as humanly possible and obey as many of the laws as I can, because I don't want my shit to be taken. And what I've noticed is that when you actually obey those laws, the people who have legal vehicles get really pissed off that you're obeying the laws, and don't obey any of them. You know, I tried taking a motorcycle test, and the whole clutch thing and the brakes being on a pedal really confused the shit out of me. Like the concept of a clutch, it just seems so, in dealing with gears like that, it just seems so antiquated. Like when I was riding that, I thought, man, I'm never going to get a normal motorcycle. Like this is what you have to deal with? That's the work. I mean, I know I sound so spoiled and like a jackass when I say this, but I'm just thinking to myself, this is the workaround that we had to come up with so that this antiquated 100-year-old bullshit-ass motor system can work and allow us to get around and get to where we need to go. It's just, it's so... I don't have a clutch. It's just like you turn the lever and you go. And when you want to change a gear, you just, take off and go. You just go off the throttle, change gear, and go. You don't have to worry about this clutch shit. I don't want to get used to having to deal with a clutch and all that other crap if I get... riding an electric bike that I electrified myself and then go into a gas motorcycle, I mean, obviously, it has a fancier suspension and more powerful brakes and all that, but the fundamentals of it, it's based on some old-ass shit that I don't want to deal with. And then the rumbling, and it's like you have to listen to it go 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 when you're sitting there. It's like, what the fuck? Get this out of there. A Zero is nice. Like you get on a Zero, it's just you just go. You go. I wouldn't even mind having gears. That thing doesn't have gears, which is kind of weird. I wouldn't mind having gears. I just the whole like having to deal with clutches and all that other shit. It's just you have to learn a skill to deal with a workaround so that this 100-year-old technology is able to work. It's just weird. But the other thing that's weird is you have to get used to the fact that your rear brake pedal is on the right. Like, so you have one brake pedal that's a lever and another brake that is a pedal. So, like, either make them both a pedal or both a lever. What I don't get is on a Zero is you don't need the clutch anymore because a Zero motorcycle doesn't use the stupid 120-year-old technology shit to go. So you don't need the clutch. It's just eliminated. But they still put the brake pedal as a pedal and one as a lever, and they don't give you an option to make one of them a pedal. I mean, both of them a lever, because I'd rather the rear brake and the front brake both be a lever rather than one is a lever and one is a pedal. One being a lever and one being a pedal is kind of weird. You know what's really funny? I'm probably going to wind up getting a motorcycle license, and after I do, I'm just going to build a bigger electric bike. Like that's the funny thing. I'm probably just going to I'm still going to wind up driving something that doesn't have a license plate. I'll just be able to say that I have a license because I don't want to get used to these other vehicles. I like what I have now. It's like I'm used to it. You know, I've been riding with it for years. I've been riding what I ride now for years in an environment where people drive like lunatics. So I'm used to, you know, dealing with New York drivers and Ubers and all this that are constantly close to killing you. This is all something that I am used to with the system that I have. So getting used to a new system where the controls are all in different places and all that is just going to be weird. I kind of just want what I have now, except more legal and more faster. Yeah, more legal and more faster. You have electric motorcycles, but you still got like... There's this one dude that posted a modification where he got a Zero motorcycle to have the rear brake pedal as a lever. I don't think it would take me a really long time to get used to having the brake pedal as a brake the brake lever as a brake pedal. That's just too weird. And the change should make sense, Clinton. That's the thing. The change should make sense. It's not really a change that makes sense. It's the change where everybody else always rode a device where the front brake is on the right hand grip and the rear brake is on the right foot pedal. So they just decided to copy that because you couldn't put it on the left side because you had a clutch. Cause of gas. I think it should be there, Felix. I just think that the rear brake should also be on the other side accompanying it. I have an A1278, no image, no fan spin, but CPU heats up when the charger is connected. How dead is it? It sounds like PP-Bus G3 Hot is a short through the CPU. So one of your high-side MOSFETs is probably always on. So it's sending PP-Bus G3 Hot to the CPU all the time, which is why your CPU is hot. And that's also going to be bringing PP-Bus G3 Hot down, which is why nothing else is turning on. That's my guess. My second guess is that you're in an SO state, but you're missing one of the SO rails, so the CPU is semi-turning on. One of the above. Alright, this is not water damage, this is just the magic of Apple manufacturing. I'm used to having to clean up solder balls everywhere. Like, solder balls flying around Apple products is just just another day at the office. Okay, let's see, what do we have here? It says Rear brake is only used for trail braking and emergency stops. I use rear brake for everything. I mean, I try to use an even amount of rear brake and front brake, and since the front brake is way more powerful on my bike than the rear one because the rear brake has a smaller disc, I tend to realize that like I'm squeezing the rear brake a little bit more so that I can get even. But I like to use both. I like to use a little bit of both brakes. And since I don't have anti-lock braking on my bike, if I'm going over an area, like if I'm trying to stop really quickly, like I'm naturally doing anti-lock brakes, so I'm kind of like doing that. Like, if you see me trying to stop, it's like that, because I learned my lesson with the whole, with the concussion, with stopping short. So ever since, see, a concussion is a great way to learn what anti-lock braking is. Some people may learn it through taking a class. Some people may learn it through a manual. I learned it by getting a concussion when I stopped on an area that was ridiculously slippery, where they were using a plate that didn't have any traction marks. In New York, if you're putting plates in the street, you need to use the one with traction marks. They use one with no traction marks, so I just went pshh. But now, pretty much every time I stop, I make sure that like if I sense that the wheel is ever even close to freezing up, it's like. You think e-bikes should have a higher speed limit? Absolutely. Yeah, the 20-mile-an-hour thing is horseshit. So is the 25-mile-an-hour thing. It's fast enough that you're going to piss off people in a bike lane, but it's slow enough that you can't ride in the street and keep up with cars. So it's made as a solution that's supposed to pacify everyone, but it's just going to piss everybody off. On a bike, the brake is on the right, so you cannot brake and crank the engine at the same time. Who the fuck is braking and cranking the engine at the same time? I ripped that shit off my bike immediately, because there was this thing, before I got rid of the stock controller, there was this thing that went from the brake to the controller so that when you hit the brake, it automatically turned off the motor, and it would keep it off for a second. So let's say I brake, but then I had to go again immediately, or I stopped because I thought somebody was going to jaywalk, and then they stop, and then I have to go. But it would be a 1 second delay. I turned that off because I realized that I'm never using the brake and the throttle at the same time. Get up to 15 miles an hour and just use the rear to stop and see how long it takes. The rear brake stopping is slower. I usually try to use each at the same time. I would love to try that on a real motorcycle. I just got to find someone that will trust me with their motorcycle so I can get some practice. Maybe it'll be Mr. Felix. The rear brake doesn't have as much stopping power, at least on my bike. Like you need to be using mostly front brake. But I don't want to use all front brake. I rode this Honda Rebel piece of shit. I think it was like a 1988 Honda Rebel. Let me see. Let me just make sure I got the right one. I think I rode this piece of shit. Let's see. Where am I finding this thing? One moment. Let's see if I can get it on the screen. Oh, again, I have a bunch of shit on the screen. I shouldn't be. Yeah, I tried this thing. So I think it was like a 1988 Honda Rebel. This piece of shit. The guy I was riding with said, the neutral light, never trust it, always check for yourself. The neutral light is like my ex-girlfriend. It's not very reliable, not very bright, and it lies to me. It was. I'll never forget that shit. I'm probably gonna remember. I'm gonna remember that stuff until I'm like 90. It's like the neutral light on the motorcycle is like my ex. It's not reliable, not very bright, and it lies to me. I thought that was hysterical. Oh. Yeah, I tried a Honda Rebel, but it was a very like fucked up Honda Rebel with like some broken stuff. But it was weird. I feel totally comfortable going through an obstacle course with my bike at 25 miles an hour. Hell, I'll go around shit at 30 miles an hour. I remember trying out this little obstacle course thing they had set up. I'm on the motorcycle. I'm like 8 fucking miles an hour, and I'm like, help, help, because I'm not used to this. Like, you have a fucking gear switcher on the leg. You have a brake up here, a brake down there. It's so confusing. Yeah. It is confusing as hell. It's like I was less comfortable riding this shit at like 8 or 9 miles an hour just on a normal road than I was riding my electric bike at like 25 or 30. I've hit up to 48, 50 miles an hour on my bike, and I did not feel weird at all because I'm used to it. But this, it's like, I don't want to die. Anyway. All right, so we cleaned this board up a little bit, so now we have to see if it's brain dead. And obviously, this is not going to be given back to the customer looking like cock and balls. This is going to go through the ultrasonic cleaner. Actually, I saw one little spot there that could use a little bit of touch-up. We might as well do before, yeah, audio area. So let's just remove this little junk by the audio area, and then we'll try. Yeah, that cap should go. That looks like shit. Yeah, I'm working on my flux conservation, and Ventec recently upped the prices on it. It was bound to happen, you know, when you print like 20% plus of your entire nation's money supply in a couple of months. You know, it might just start trickling down to cost of everyday goods. Yeah, and Ventec finally raised prices on flux, so I'm being cheap with it. We can't swim in it anymore. All right. I also likely reflowed that little chip that has by it. That was that was under the nasty looking cap. That's an important thing to do just to make sure. Now we're gonna see if the thing has a brain. Want to make sure that I get a question mark logo on the screen. If we get a question mark logo, it means that we have we're one step closer to our job. Then this machine will have to get ultrasonically cleaned so that it's not nasty. Get rid of all the signs that there was liquid on it. Another thing that's good about doing the ultrasonic cleaning process, and one of the important reasons to do it, is if someone spills something again, you really want to be able to say, I gave this back to you perfectly clean. So if it comes back here with all these marks and liquid on it, then I'll know that there was something spilled again. And I just noticed something that I shouldn't have missed. Damn it. Better late than never. Yes, decoder. This happens several times a day. I'm spoiled now that I have Kevin to deal with this. Like every time someone says, but I didn't spill something on it again. Like, I used to be the one that dealt with all of those personally. And then it was Steve. And now it's Kevin. That job always gets passed off to whoever the new person is. The poor sucker new person. Somebody's got to do it. Some jobs just have unpleasant aspects to them, and one of the unpleasant aspects of this one is But I didn't get liquid on it again. Your repair just didn't last. But dude, why does it smell like coffee? Why is there coffee dripping from the bottom of it? You put that there just now. No, I didn't. What the? Okay, well, he didn't say that. But I've had people say that shit to me before. People have balls. People have balls. Yeah, every time I think I've got it, there's another little piece of shit somewhere. Good evening, Mr. Kopaz. Does he handle them with grace? Yes, Kevin is amazing. Kevin is the man.
Oh my gosh!
Kevin has improved so much from when he started, it's ridiculous. Like, he started this job as a noob, and he's now better than I am at it. Like, considerably better. Yeah. Paul S. calls that the ever-sensing. In the automotive field, I believe they call that ever-sensing. Ever since you cleaned my window, my radio doesn't work. Alright, do we get... question mark folder. JP, that's why you keep logs. That is a blinking question mark folder of a working MacBook. So obviously this thing is going to need some TLC. It's going to need some ultrasonic cleaning. In addition to ultrasonic cleaning, it could also use a bit of a cleaning of the inside of the machine. I most certainly would suggest a cleaning of the inside of the computer. That's going to be necessary because I do need to know the next time this thing's back in here. Yeah, there's another piece that I missed. One of the things I like about our QA/QC system is that for a lot of the jobs like this, it winds up going through two people. So I have my visual inspection guide that I go over with everybody here. And then they, in turn, look through the work and see if they can find anything that's missed, because this stuff is kind of hiding everywhere. It can be really easy to miss. So before I put this thing in a status to be quality assurance tested, ultrasonics, and all that good stuff, let's give it one more good old look through. Now this person is kind of lucky. They're lucky in the fact that the CPU is not dead, because as I said, the CPU is usually dead in these situations. And it's not here, which means he's luckier than most. He's as lucky as the people that sold their ICLN stock at $23.90 yesterday. That's just nasty glue. That'll come off in the cleaner. That's a giant joint. That corrosion's nothing on there. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right, so that's a fix. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. So the reason this wasn't turning on was extensive water damage around the part of the board that's going to control the CPU power. So it's going to take PP-Bus G3 hot. It's going to take those slices of 12.56 volts, cut them up, and turn it into 1.5, 1.7 volts or so for the CPU. And if most of the time when you have corrosion around here, it causes 12 volts to go straight to the CPU, kills the CPU. In this case, it didn't. Now, remember, one of the reasons that I did not want to plug it in and try it out is because every single time I'm plugging this in, when there's corrosion over there, I'm potentially sending 12 volts to the CPU. So that is one of my standard troubleshooting practices, but it's also one of my standard troubleshooting practices when I'm not going to send 12 volts to the CPU. You know, knowing how much amperage it's taking is there to tell me, give me an idea of where the problem is. But it also, I'm plugging in a board that has liquid damage. Now, if there is obvious liquid damage, I don't need to plug the board in to see how many amps it's taking to get an idea where I'm going to start. Because the whole point of plugging in the board and seeing how much power it's drawing is that's going to allow me to associate it in my head with, okay, the last time I was taking 150 milliamps, the problem was here. So look here, or something like that. That's the whole point. But when there's a giant blob of shit, then I already know my problem is here. So plugging it in really doesn't add anything to me, to the equation. So that's about it. We're going to ultrasonic this board, give it back to a happy customer, or well, otherwise probably a sad customer because he still thinks he didn't spill anything. And this is just the magic scam of Rossmann Repair, where we put like coffee packets or something inside the computer and we give it to them, and then I hit a button over here. I hit a button on my Dominion-owned keyboard, and then I press it, and then the coffee packets explode. And then, But anyway, what are you going to do? That's customer service for you. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.